Okay, next up is Bobi Klintman. What did you think of Bobby's 3 games in the Gold or at the Gold Coast? I thought they were up and down. There were some inconsistencies, maybe is the way to put it,
Yeah.
but mostly positive is what I would say.
I'll go with that. Listen, Bobby, is it Bobby or Bobi? Because I hear some people call him Bobi.
It's Bobby.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's what I thought. So I've watched Bobi Klintman all of last year for some other stuff I do. So very familiar with his game. And, you know, he had a great end to a season at Wake Forest. Just real quick for anybody who doesn't know, final 11 games, he shot 41% from 3 on 4 attempts. First 22 games, 31% on 1.5 attempts. So had a 11 game stretch where he really shot the ball, became a real NBA draft prospect. Sam goes over there. That's where I'm at. Like, I feel like it's a cop-out answer, but I didn't leave any of these games feeling a different way. I think if I believe anything about Bobi Klintman is he is truly an off-the-ball player. I like his cutting. I think he has an art and a knack for that. By the way, that's something Omax Prosper does really well also. I think he can be effective on the offensive boards. I don't like them putting the ball in his hand, running ball screen stuff, but I like if they just want to like a zoom action and then get him downhill off of that. Defensively, definitely a mixed bag. Definitely a mixed bag. And
yeah, let's start on the offense first. Because
okay.
I think the offense is the most important part with Bobby.
Okay. Yep.
Offensively, I'm glad you brought up the cutting. That was something I didn't see a crazy amount of at Wake Forest last year, but I thought was exceptional at the Gold Coast. I thought he was really, really good as a cutter. And look, they have enough guards where they will hit him. Like Taron Armstrong will hit him as a cutter if he is open. I thought he was very reactive, especially off the baseline cuts. I thought his 45 cuts were really smart. He has a real knack for finding his area to the basket. The issue with that at times is the finishing. If he can't dunk, it's a bit of a worry with his finishing. He doesn't get, and this extends to the shooting as well, which I'll talk about momentarily. I feel like the arc on the ball in terms of overall touch when he's on the move flattens out. And that's why around the rim, you see like these little shots that will like back rim. And from 3, you'll see him really flatten out when he's trying to take a shot on the move. And that's, to me, that is the difference between him being like an NBA player and not an NBA player.
Sure.
He needs to be a real touch guy as both a finisher and as a shooter and scorer. Like, it can't be, I'm going to pop it up to the rim, and like have to offensive rebound a couple of times. He has to finish. Especially if we're going to derive a lot of value from him as an off-ball player and as a cutter. I'm with you on the handle. I think that like you can run like a couple zoom actions for him. I think he can bring the ball up the court and do some stuff in grab and go situations. I actually think he can pass as well, is the thing. Like, that's actually the on-ball skill I like most. I think his vision is actually pretty good from playing on the ball in Sweden for all those years. I think he has like an innate understanding of that. The handle in traffic, I think, is a worry, and he will need to tighten it up. The issue for me, beyond the scoring, and I said like this is mostly a positive endeavor, and I'm now like kind of questioning it a little bit. And I don't mean to, like, he was very productive and was good. I think that like I'm trying to rate him on the level of 15th overall or like second rounder, right? Sure. And that's where I think NBA teams are trying to parse through some things right now. To be the 15th overall pick, he has to have that touch level. To be if he's going to go 35th or whatever, it's going to be because of that like touch not quite being there. And the reason for that is that athletically, he's good off of 2 feet, and he's good when he has like space and can load up. I don't think his athleticism is quite as good in traffic. I don't think that I don't think he has a lot of like explosiveness in
Sure.
traffic when I watch him. And that's again an issue when we're talking about a player that like has some touch concerns around the basket with like the shot, like the trajectory of the ball, like flattening out a little bit. And then I also don't love his hips. Like defensively, I think that he really struggles to flip his hips. And that's along with like just the inherent awareness concerns of not having played like a wildly high level in Sweden. And then, you know, this basically being like his third year playing high level basketball, like just the overall defensive awareness is not always there. He'll honestly, like he showed real growth from game 1 to game 3
I
defensively.
agree. Yes.
So like the first game, I thought his first 5-minute stretch was really bad, like truly, really, really bad defensively. But, and this is where we can talk about like the really positive things with Bobi Klintman. He came out of the game. All of his teammates like came up to him and were really excited for him and loved him. I was sitting right next to the bench, so like I got like a good view of this. And then it looked like a couple of guys like came up to him and were like, they were like pointing to the court and stuff. And like they were like trying to, I don't know what the conversations were. This is just me reading into this, right? And seeing what you see on a basketball court. It looked like they were trying to explain to him what went wrong, right? And that's the growth. That's like what you really want to see. A, he got told what was wrong. B, his older teammates really like him and want to help him
Sure.
with all of this. And C, he then processed all of that, took that in. And I thought even in the second half of that game was way better defensively. So I really liked that. The physical tools wise, like a bit of a higher center of gravity and hips is like a bad combo to me. And like hip concerns is like a bad combo. That's what I think like both Cairns and then his agency Excel, they're going to have to like work with his hip flexibility, in my opinion, to try and open that up and make it so that he can drop his hips when guys are attacking closeouts and guys are trying to get by him offensively. The last thing I'll note here is the shooting. When he has a standstill, or when he is like in a spot up situation, or when he is on the perimeter and just relocating side to side behind the 3-point line. So like someone drives opposite court and he drifts from the wing to the baseline and he's in the corner at that point and he has a chance to really set his feet and doesn't have to worry about like vertical movement. He can just be a horizontal movement guy. I think that his shot looks pretty good. And I think that the mechanics on it look quite good. He gets like a very high hop. Like he gets like almost like a crow's hop into it. And the trajectory when he engages his legs in that way is much better. When it is him on the move and having to go like front to back and like, you know, 12 feet closer to the rim, back to behind the 3-point line, or, you know, even going like 19 feet away from the rim to 21 feet away from the rim to shoot a 3. I think that's when the shot flattens out a little bit and it can be a little bit more of a tricky issue for him. And that's where his misses come, I think. So those are the areas for improvement for him. I think like opening up the hips, trying to get the most out of him defensively, and then the shot not flattening out as much.
Yeah, I don't know that I've really ever watched him and thought, man, big time movement shooter necessarily, as much as just like a catch and shoot guy, or, you know, subtle relocate. I call him subtle, but, you know, just a nice, easy hammer to the corner, lift to the wing, you know, maybe even can do some pick and pop stuff. I think you brought up something that was interesting, Sam. I know when I'm evaluating Bobi, it's how is he improving his draft stock? Because at least in my mind, I'm thinking this was a kid that was a top 35, 40 pick in the 2023 draft, or could have been. That may be wrong. I may be incorrect. Maybe he didn't have a promise. Maybe he wasn't going to go that high.
So I can tell you did not have a promise.
Okay.
And I think he would have gone somewhere in the top 45 if he would have, you know, he could have gone 31, 32, 33, could have gone, you know, 45. I think somewhere in the top half of that second round, Bobi Klintman would have been taken in 2023.
So that's where I was at.
That's not a certainty. I'm not saying that, like, I've talked to a specific team that 100% would have taken him. I'm saying, as somebody who had a good feel for what his draft stock was, I think that's where it would have landed.
And I was probably a little higher just on my own personal, like, big board or whatever, but it's same range. So when I'm watching him, I'm going, okay, what is he doing that's going to get him into the first round? What's going to guarantee pick 30 through 35? And so it's all the things you're talking about, the shooting and then improving the defense. One thing to note is one thing I wanted to see from early in his season last year was defensive playmaking, defensive disruption, however you want to say it. Some steals, some blocks. And I think he's doing some of that. And so again, I want to give him some love, because one way you can get around maybe being a great on ball, maybe you don't have the best hips, whatever. If you can counteract that with some playmaking, you make up for getting beat with a block from behind. I'm not saying you can always do it, Sam, but I'm just saying it's one thing that can provide value. And I thought he was doing some of that. So I'm really interested to see if he can sustain it for a whole year, because that would, again, show growth and in some ways shows awareness, anticipation, understanding of the game plan, scheme, etc.